really shouldn't say that about our future president.
Yeah, our future. Yeah,
she's gonna win. The only one who's not doing that is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
You a fan?
Yeah, I am a fan. Yeah, he's the only one that makes sense to me. He's the only one that he doesn't attack people.
As Vice President Harris continues to dominate the 2024 election, a desperate and flailing Donald Trump effectively declared war on the world's most popular podcaster, Joe Rogan, because Rogan seems to be favoring Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the election instead of Trump. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, as you know, we've talked about it in previous videos. The election is tightening. The momentum is shifting in favor of the Democrats, from polls to fundraising to overall energy. Vice President Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz are selling out arenas. The momentum is up. Harris is now leading in most polls. And in the few places she's behind Trump, it's within the margin of error. We had the disastrous Trump press conference just yesterday. Things are not good, at least as of this moment. And so Donald Trump, moron that he is, decided to make matters worse by trying to pick a fight with the world's most popular podcaster and UFC enthusiast, Joe Rogan. As is just reported, Trump is urging UFC fans to boo Joe Rogan for endorsing RFK Jr. in case you want to know how things are going for his campaign right now. So he said on Truth Social earlier today, it will be interesting to see how loudly Joe Rogan gets booed the next time he enters the UFC ring, 3 question marks, MAGA 2024. Now, Rogan has not responded, at least as far as I know, to this directly, but I do want to set the table here. So for context, Joe Rogan has always been kind of a centrist-y type, and he has skewed ever more right-wing since the 2020 election, particularly in the aftermath of COVID. He became a COVID skeptic. He started to praise Trump more, started to attack President Biden. We played a video months ago of Rogan trying to make fun of President Biden for a gaffe that he made. And then it turned out he was fact-checked in real time that it was actually Trump who made the gaffe, not Biden. And so then Rogan quickly changed the subject. So he's one of those centrist types who grades Trump on a curve and holds the Democrats to a much higher standard. He also recently suggested that Vice President Harris is going to win the upcoming election. So we're going to play some of these clips just to set the stage, and then we'll get into what he said recently about RFK Jr., even though he was clearly a Trump fan.
Was like Kamala Harris is the worst vice president. She's the least popular vice president of all time. And then in a moment in time, all of a sudden she's our solution. She's our hero. Everybody's with her. All these social media posts about her. Try Googling a negative story on her. You won't find one.
So,
ta-da!
Okay, you've got.
Do you think they have her medicated? Because there was a guy that was speculating that some of the things that she says, the way she's sort of disconnected sometimes. And
I don't know.
She goes on these rambles that it's
I don't
indicative of certain anti-anxiety medication. I do not know if this is true. See if you can find that, because really shouldn't say that about our future president.
Yeah, our future. Yeah,
she's going to win.
No, she's not.
She can win.
So he was talking to Michael Malice, who is a Fox News contributor. And so Rogan just says it. Listen, she's going to be our future president. She's going to win. And then when Malice pushes back, he's like, okay, at least she can win. Now, you heard everything he had to say about the vice president prior to that. He clearly doesn't like her. He thinks it's ridiculous and manufactured that she was so disliked and controversial. But now compared to Trump, since she's the presumptive Democratic nominee and he is the alternative, he just thinks it's absolutely ridiculous and far-fetched that she can be so well-liked and surging in the polls. Now, again, we'll get into that. It's, of course, because Rogan's kind of stupid when it comes to political analysis. He seems to have forgotten that Trump is a wildly unpopular and divisive figure. And if you give people a choice, like, I don't like meatloaf. I don't. But if you give me a plate of meatloaf and the alternative is dog feces, I'm going to be really enthusiastic about meatloaf, right? There's nothing dishonest about this. At the end of the day, people really want a viable non-Trump candidate, and people think that Vice President Harris is more viable than President Biden, and that explains much, if not all, of the enthusiasm behind her. It's that easy, Joe. So Joe Rogan already infuriated MAGA by publicly suggesting on the world's biggest podcast that Vice President Harris was going to beat Trump in the election. They didn't like that. Well, then he made matters worse because he seemed to publicly endorse Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the third party candidate running against both, well, initially President Biden, but now Vice President Harris and Donald Trump. This is what he had to say very recently.
They do it on the left. They do it on the right. They gaslight you. They manipulate you. They promote narratives. And the only one who's not doing that is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
You a fan?
Yeah, I am a fan. Yeah, he's the only one that makes sense to me. He's the only one that he doesn't attack people. He attacks actions and ideas, but he's much more reasonable and intelligent.
I mean, when you talk about attacking, that seemed to be a roundabout reference to Trump, that he doesn't attack people, unlike Trump. He attacks ideas. Now, again, I think RFK Jr. is a disastrous candidate, and he certainly stands no chance. President Biden stands a far greater chance of becoming the candidate. He's not even running anymore. RFK Jr. will not win this election. We do not exist. We have a duopoly in this country. There are too many systemic advantages in favor of the two major parties. A third-party candidate will not win. Just ask Ross Perot. But that was a clear, tacit, roundabout endorsement. And it was also a roundabout call out of Trump. Trump attacks people. Trump doesn't attack ideas. And he also, insulted, at least in part, Trump's intelligence, right? He seemed to suggest that RFK Jr. was much more intelligent than both Vice President Harris and Donald Trump. MAGA did not like that. So now, in response to all of that, that's where you get what Trump said at the beginning, where he wants Joe Rogan to be booed. He's picking a fight with Joe Rogan now. In response to the clip going viral of Joe Rogan endorsing endorsing RFK, Joe Rogan kind of walked it back. Now, then again, this is prior to Trump publicly calling him out. Okay, so it goes, Joe Rogan says that Harris will win the election. Then later he says that RFK Jr. is the candidate he prefers. Then Joe Rogan responds to this, the call outs, and then Trump makes fun of him. So this is what Joe Rogan says. For the record, this isn't an endorsement. This is me saying that I like RFK Jr. as a person. I really appreciate the way he discusses things with civility and intelligence. I think we could use more of that in this world. I also think Trump raising his fist and saying fight after getting shot is one of the most American effing things of all time. I'm not the guy to get political information from. If you want that in a comic, go to Comic Dave Smith. He actually knows what he's talking about. Dave Smith, of course, being a libertarian, which is a shy Republican. But yeah, that's where we are. Joe Rogan and Donald Trump may be in a feud. A feud that, quite frankly, Donald Trump really can't afford right now. Because the other thing I want to point out, according to the New Republic, Trump has started to piss off his white supremacist base, including perhaps the most popular and infamous white supremacist in the United States, Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes apparently went on a screed ranting about Trump because he thinks Trump is going to lose. Tonight, I declared a new Groyper war against the Trump campaign. Fuentes explained that he and his far-right squad of online trolls support Trump, but that they view his 2024 campaign as being hijacked by lobbyists, consultants, and donors that had aided Trump's 2016 public opponents. All in all, Fuentes believed they were blowing it. Quote, without serious changes, we are headed for a catastrophic loss, end quote. Quote, this is not a purity spiral. This is about living up to the America First credo put forth by Trump in 2016, which will ensure victory in 2024. On Monday, I will present a detailed statement of the facts, a mission statement, and a plan of action on my Rumble account. So the bottom line is Trump is in dire straits, his campaign. Now, I still think it'll be a close competitive election. Of course, he can still win, again, due to numerous systemic advantages which he enjoys, like the Electoral College, et cetera, and so forth. But right now, Trump is desperate. He's freaking out, and he's lashing out. And he has major supporters retreating from him because they think the campaign is on a downward trajectory. And now he picked an unnecessary and stupid fight with the world's most popular podcaster. And I think we on the left and those of us in the Democratic coalition should exploit it however we possibly can, because this is not good news for Trump. Let me know what you think in the comments.